everybody. My name is Mike Furman, and this is the video training series for the Utah High School Football Officials Association's 2023 clinic. In this video, we'll be discussing managing and controlling your sideline as it relates to not just keeping coaches and players out of the white, but also in developing a positive working relationship with your coaches and their staff. Let's start off then with a quick review of the rules surrounding the sideline and particularly the restricted areas. You can see here we have that highlighted in red. The team box goes from between the two 25s and is set up a minimum of 2 yards off of the sideline. Sometimes you'll hear coaches want to tell you that this is the coach's box. It is not. In football, this is the restricted area. And the rules governing the restricted area can be found in Rule 993, where it says a maximum of 3 coaches may be in the restricted area. Now that's talking between downs. So even between downs, there should never be more than 3 coaches in the restricted area, and then no player, non-player, or coach shall be in the restricted area when the ball is live. That's the expectation. That's what we should be trying to get our sidelines to do and our coaches and everyone to understand. As with most things, controlling your sideline and keeping it managed the way that we want starts long before the game ever begins. In pregame, white hats, set the expectation with your wings that their sideline is going to be under control. Let them know you're going to hold them to that. Next, wings, be committed to that. If you're ready and want to be moving up to the next level in your officiating, then stand up and take charge of your sideline. Set yourself up as an official who knows how to handle coaches and players and will keep that sideline under control for your referee. When you go out on the field to meet with the head coach, referee, don't gloss over this. Make it a point to specifically say something along the lines of, Coach, I got to have you coach from behind the white tonight. And that's what I'm going to expect of you. I have 2 great wings who are going to help you with that, but please work with us and do your best to stay behind the white tonight. You specifically drawing attention to this early on will go a long ways in helping your wings to control their sideline. Coin toss. It's sometimes little things that help you establish yourself and give yourself credibility and keep control of the sideline and the game entirely. We know that the rules of a coin toss, there should never be more than 4 captains out on the field. In this picture, we have 5 captains out on the field. Additionally, if you look, we have the entire team at the numbers and beyond standing there, some of them trying to look on and perhaps even intimidate the other team. Don't allow these type of things to happen. Again, 1, there's other problems that can come of it, but 2, it just establishes yourself right from the start as the person who's in charge. All right, let's take a minute and we'll look at some clips, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about some other things. So in this first clip, and yes, as you're managing your sideline, working with your sideline, you're going to spend a lot of time giving warnings, verbal warnings, before we look at throwing flags for things. But one thing that's kind of a deal breaker when it comes to the sideline, because again, no coach is allowed to be out in the white. And we've got to play where we got to hold. We've thrown a flag for hold. And what we have is this coach here running at full speed to come yell at this wing official and tell them that's a hold, that's a hold. Again, they're not allowed in the white, period. But if they've come into the white to yell at you, that now becomes a deal breaker and we need to have a flag on that. That's just one step too far. And again, he comes in. Now we kind of get out of the way as we go past. Yes, we're going to work with coaches, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But again, if they've come out in the white to yell at you, it's time to throw a sideline warning at least. Next clip. When we get down inside the goal line, yes, we have a lot that's going on. We have all of our regular pre-snap responsibilities we're trying to take care of. We also know that we're inside the 10. You can see here that the back judge has given up the goal line, so we've got goal line responsibilities we've got to worry about, and there's a lot to go on. You need to add to your pre-snap routine a quick glance back up the sideline to make sure that everyone is back behind the 25-yard line like they should be. Here we've got a coach who's creeped down to get an extra look at things and to coach his team. That's not allowed. Again, I'm not saying we have to throw a flag at this point. That's going to be about the management and so forth of the sideline. But at the very least, you want to look up. If you see it, give a quick yell. Back up, coach. Need you the 25, coach. And then the snap goes and short. And maybe you listened to you, maybe you didn't, but you're setting yourself up as a presence. I see you. That's not allowed. We've got to keep things under control. Back up where you need to be. Now, as long as we're talking about the goal line, Let's take a second to talk about keeping our sideline clear in general, particularly when we're down around the goal line. What we have here is a play from a semifinal game last year. Some of you may remember this incident. But we're going to have a play that goes to the corner of the end zone. Now, as you look right here, we have this media table. Any of you that have worked TV games are probably familiar with that, where they like to set that media table up right there so that they can get a higher view as they look down the goal line. There's the media line. That table's out in front of that. It should not be there. And I would argue, even if it was right behind the line, that's still too close for a physical object like that, which can cause injury. As officials, it's our responsibility to make sure that the sideline is clear, particularly around the goal line, so that players and everyone can stay safe. And as we let this play roll forward, we have a defender who falls into the table, and now he was hurt and had to come off for injury. And all of this, again, because we had a table in an area that it absolutely should not be. When you get down to the goal line, especially inside the 5, take a second to verify and make sure that the goal line is clear. Sometimes you'll have camera people or statisticians that want to kind of stand right here, kind of where this arrow is. It's a good idea at that point, especially like I say, when you're inside the 5, to turn and give them a quick look and say, hey, if the ball swings this way, I'm going to be moving right there. So I need to have you back up out of the way. Particularly around the goal line, it's important that we're keeping everyone that's down there back and out of the way where there won't be injury to a player or anyone else. All right, next clip. Oftentimes when we run into problems with the sideline is because something really exciting happens in the game, like this. We got a long run that's going to go, and now everybody's jumping up down and running down the sideline. Everybody's excited. And at this point, these are just the 3 worst offenders. We've got all kinds of people out here in the white where they shouldn't be, but we've got 3 who are partly on the field and clear up ahead. If you're running down the sideline and somebody passes you, again, that's a deal breaker. We got to at least have a sideline warning or something that lets them know that this cannot be allowed. We've got coaches out here in the way. As this continues, again, this official is doing the best he can. He's got people flinging their arms and flapping in front of him. He's had enough, which I would agree. Enough is enough. We've got a flag that comes up. And then if you notice here as we go forward, there actually is contact made with this guy flinging his arms. Boom, we get a little bit bump. We've got a hand. We've got to push on him. Technically, by rule, that would be a 15-yard penalty. That's not a warning at that point. Again, those things come into your sideline management and how you're going to work with the coaches and keep them under control, but that, by rule, that is supported at that point. All right, another clip. It takes work to continually get them back, almost every play. If we watch this clip here, you'll see example what I'm talking about. This guy was in the way. We're trying to work with them. We're trying not to throw flags every down and so forth. You'll see him turn back and look at this coach here in the green and tell him, Coach, you've got to back up. And the next step, of course, will be take it to the head coach. Coach, that guy right there in the green, every time I turn around, he's out in the white and in my way. You got to help me. I've got to have this sideline clear. But again, the point there is it takes work. You're most likely going to have to be talking to your sideline between every single down. All right, this one, we got 2 coaches out in the white. And see, what coaches will sometimes think is that as long as they are behind the play and in the backfield, that they're okay to come out and stand in the white and that they're safe. But that's not true. That's actually the most dangerous place where a coach can be out into the white. Because what will happen eventually is there'll be some type of turnover, a pick 6, whatever, an interception that comes. And now what happens to this official down here on the sideline is they go full speed in this direction to go with the play, and that's when the big collisions happen. So even behind the play, it's not safe for the coaches to be out there, and we need to still be talking. And when they get upset with you, that's the explanation you can give them. Coach, if something good happens for you and you get an interception, I'm going to be coming running full speed that direction, and we're going to collide. I need to be safe. I got to have you back. Now, some of you are listening to me right now and thinking, is it really that big a deal? Does this really matter? It is a big deal. 2004, San Antonio, Texas, Charles Harple and Terry English. Go look up those 2 names online. You can read all about the story, but I'll give you a quick summary. Charles Harple was the referee, was the wing official, I should say, and Terry English was the assistant coach. Charles Harple's running full speed down the sideline. Terry English steps out into the white, and they collide and they smack heads, and both of them are knocked unconscious. After a few minutes, Charles Harple comes to, gets up. He's got a concussion, but he's fine. Terry English never wakes up until they take him to the hospital. He's in a coma for several days. He eventually comes out, and when he does, he has permanent brain damage. He's never quite the same, never 100% ever again. And that's one part of it, and that's absolutely the biggest reason why we need to keep our sideline clear and why it matters. But in addition to that, you should know Charles Harple and Terry English, they're good friends. There's no animosity between the two of them, but the insurance companies, lawyers, sued everybody. They went after every official on the game. They went after the school. They went after the athletic association. They went after everybody they could think of to try to get money to pay for these medical bills. This stuff does matter. We can't just ignore it. We can't just say it's not an important part of the game. It's important that the sideline is clear and everyone is safe. Okay, when you're on the head linesman side, set your chains up correctly. Don't let them set up 2 feet behind you. They need to be on the back of the restricted area line. And then that will help keep everyone else back, because that kind of becomes this thing, this barrier that helps keep the sideline clear. Also, when you're working the sideline, help your chains out. Don't just leave them out there to fend for themselves. Every time you're waving them down for a first down, that's time to turn and yell at the sideline, chains coming, chains coming. It not only helps the chain crew, but it also helps give you a presence on the field and helps keep you in control. Use your chains. Set them up in the right spot. Now, let's take a second to clarify the difference between sideline warnings and unsportsmanlike conduct. A sideline warning is for when a coach is out in the white when he shouldn't be and contact was not made. If a coach comes out onto the field and starts to yell and holler and act in a manner that is unsportsmanlike, that is not a sideline warning. That is an unsportsmanlike conduct foul. Now, what's happened is we've started using a sideline warning in situations where a coach comes out on the field to yell. I'm not saying that that's never an option, but we are using it way too much. And what we have now is established a mentality among a lot of coaches that they get to come out and act in an unsportsmanlike manner towards the officials, and it will just be a warning until the next time before it actually starts to cost them yards. And that's what they've come to believe the rules are. That's not the case, and we're doing everyone a disservice, including ourselves, by not enforcing it correctly. If a coach is in the way, that's a sideline warning. If a coach is acting unsportsmanlike, that's an unsportsmanlike foul. Again, the point here being we need to be a lot more selective on the times that we use that. All right, Wings, having said that, don't ever let your coach stand out on the sideline and yell at your white hat or your umpire or or anybody. The moment that coach is out on the field yelling at someone, that's when you need to be over there between them saying, back up, coach. Okay, coach, I need you back up. All right. I'll go talk to him. I need to have you back up. If they start saying, I want to have a timeout, okay, you can have a timeout. Let's get you to the sideline, and then I'll go get my white hat. One of the greatest responses I remember, I was working with a white hat. Coach was yelling. I said, I need to have you off. He called the timeout. White hat came over and said, okay, let's go to the sideline. He said, I called the timeout. I get to be out on the field. I have a right to be on the field now that I call the timeout. And the white hat simply turned and calmly replied, you're absolutely right, coach, but I'm going to be over on the sideline. So if you want to talk to me, that's where you're going to have to come. We don't want all those discussions out in the field. We want them off and on the sideline. Wings, step in there, start getting your coach off and out of the way. Referees, you should never be the one who throws a sideline warning. That's a tool for the wing to use. That wing is over there developing a relationship, a working relationship with that head coach, and that sideline warning flag is one of his tools in his toolbox. Don't take it away from him. You're not familiar with what's happening or fully aware of how things are progressing on the sideline and where that official is at. Now, if you feel like things have gotten out of control and you need to take care of it, okay, but then that's going to be an unsportsmanlike conduct flag. That's when you would step in. If it's not to that point yet, then it's totally fine to turn to your wing and yell at them and say, Mike, get your coach off the sideline. Get that sideline under control. That helps the wing out. He gets to turn around and say, guys, you're getting me in trouble. White hat's right. I got to have you off. Back up. But allow them to be the ones who are in charge of the sideline. Now, having said that, let's watch one last clip. This is from several years ago. and it was a semifinal game. Incidents that caused the ruckus are these two players here. We have a long pass that comes up, and both of them come down with the ball. As we know, the rule, joint possession is going to go to the offense, which is the red team. Back judge comes in and rules it as a joint possession and therefore a catch by the offense. Coach doesn't like it. This flag that happens here is for sideline interference because we'd already used a sideline warning earlier in the game. Watch the way this coach is acting. Again, I think that this official, and I don't know of everything that was happening and what he was trying to work with and so forth in the game, but all these antics that are happening right now with this coach, he's way beyond the sideline interference or sideline warning. As we move forward with this, sideline interference gets enforced. The coach is still not okay. We're still trying to work with him. He's still out on the field. Again, I believe this official is trying to keep him off the field, but then again, this is where we'd just be around here stepping in front going, no, 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 back up, back up, back up. I need to have you off the field. Again, I believe we're trying the best we can. I like this motion here. What that motion with the hand, what do I do? I'm giving this guy every break I can, and we're absolutely right. There's nothing else we can do for him. Now we have a flag come up for unsportsmanlike conduct. This flag comes up for unsportsmanlike conduct, now we have a coach who's coming out here saying, hey, head coach, come off the field, and you get under control. If we started with the unsportsmanlike conduct right from the beginning, this part would already be happening, and he would already have been pulled off the field and starting to be calmed down by his fellow coaches. Now, this isn't okay. We don't get to tag team, get the head coach off, and now I get to stand and stare at you out on the field and shake my head. I understand that we're trying to probably not have as much interaction with this team because right now it's just going to hurt them, but this guy needs to get off the field as well. I want to continue through this as this whole thing kind of plays out. And I know that we've kind of said, let the wing manage the sideline, but in this scenario, the wing has come out. He's signaling and marking the spot of where the next play will begin. So he doesn't see what happens behind him. Here we have a coach who's basically out of the numbers. And as he's out of the numbers on the field, takes his headset and slams it on the ground. Guys, that's not sideline warning. That's not sideline interference. That is an unsportsmanlike conduct foul. But our wing can't see it. At that point, umpire, referee, or even I believe this is our back judge here, if you see that and notice that the wing can't, absolutely step in and throw that flag. But if we start out with that, there's a better chance coaches are going to come and get him to calm down earlier rather than later as we continue to let him go on. So the last thing I want to show you here, the coach eventually, like we said, calls a timeout. He wants to talk to the white hat about this. I want you to notice the professionalism of this white hat. This is a seasoned veteran white hat who comes in. Everybody here is kind of taunting and yelling and clapping. I love that interaction with the referee. He's calm. He's coach. Let me explain this to you. Here's what the rule is. But there's no hurry. There's no belligerent getting in the coach's face. It's a very calm, let me come over and explain this to you in a very professional manner. That is the way we want to kind of handle things, and definitely appreciate that on this play. Okay, continuing with that. First off, like we mentioned, we need to be the ones who stay calm. Coaches are going to get upset. That's going to happen. Things are going to go the way that they don't like. But we need to understand that it's very easy for a coach to go from being upset to becoming absolutely ballistic based upon how we interact with them. What we want to make sure that we do is that after their interaction with us, they at very least don't get any worse. Yes, there are going to be times where there's nothing we can do. The coach is going to be mad. But we want to make sure that as we interact with them, we're not inciting any further anger or frustration, but rather we are helping them to calm down. Along with that, guys, we need to respect the coaches. He deserves it. Refer to him as his title. Understand that he works very hard and is very passionate about the experiences that these kids are having in high school football. Treat him with respect. Yes, this next bullet point here, we don't waste time on assistants. However, that doesn't mean we're arrogant jerks to assistants either. If an assistant has a legitimate question they are asking and we can answer it quickly, there's no harm in helping them and help them understand. Be quick to give answers when you have them. Be happy to explain. We're rule nerds, right? Be happy to step in and let a coach understand or explain to a coach what the rule is and why we called what we called. If you are coming to a game with a coach who is infamous for losing his cool and giving officials a bad time, I would suggest over communicating. Find every opportunity you can to give him information within what's the fairness of the game. Things like, how many timeouts he has left, what down it is if he's asking. Come with the thought process of, I'm going to over communicate with him so that he knows I'm not out to get him. I'm here just to make sure that the game is fair, which is what he wants, and I'm going to work hard to do that. We've probably heard this phrase a million times as officials, put away the rabbit ears, but let's cover it and review. First off, I would tell you this. We don't have to win any arguments. We've already won. By rule, we have the final say. Understand how that must feel for a coach who knows that no matter what he thinks or whatever his interpretation is, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because we have the final say and there's nothing he can do about that. That has to be frustrating. If you were in a relationship with somebody and that's how things worked, my guess is you wouldn't be in that relationship very long. So be sensitive to that. And along with that, what I'm saying is allow the coach to have the final word. Meaning, you give an explanation, and as you turn around to walk away, the coach mumbles under his breath, "That's a bunch of bull crap." That's fine. Let him say it. Pretend you didn't hear it. In many cases, that final little cut is part of the calming down process. We don't need to turn around at that point and say, "No, it's not bullcrap. I'm right, and here's why." That is instigating and chasing down an argument. That's what we're talking about when we say put away the rabbit ears. If you can ignore it or act like you didn't hear it, then act like you didn't hear it. If the coach is out at the numbers screaming at the top of his lungs, "That's a bunch of bull crap," okay, you can't ignore that. Something has to be done. But in those situations where you can pretend that you didn't hear it, that's what we want to do. And again, let them have the parting shot. Then act like you didn't hear it and let things go. That's part of the calming down process for many coaches. Next, do not throw your partners under the bus. When we walk out onto a field, we are the only ones out there who have each other's backs, and we need to act like that. And you might think, hey, you're establishing credibility with the coach by telling him, "Yeah, that guy's an idiot. That was a terrible call. I didn't have that over here because I'm not an idiot." That's not what you're doing. You're destroying the credibility of everyone on the crew, including yourself. And when coaches later send feedback to the joint board and to Jeff Clough saying this crew wasn't very good, oh, believe me, they're going to throw you under the bus as well and say they don't even have each other's back. They're tearing each other down. They did this, they did this, they did this. You are not establishing credibility or helping your relationship with your coach by throwing your partner under the bus. Next, do not ever say that's not my call. To a coach, when you say that's not my call, what you're essentially saying is, I know we're wrong, but I don't care. Rather than say that's not my call, another option is to say, "Coach, you know what? I'm way over here with you, so I didn't get a very good look at it, but my partner's right there, and he's a good official, so he obviously saw something. If you want, next opportunity, I'll go ask him what he had." What you've done in that response is subtly remind him that he didn't get a very good look either. "I'm over here with you, Coach. Neither one of us saw that very well. But I'll go ask my partner first chance I get and find out what he had." Always be willing to go ask. Say, I don't have time right now, but first time out, I can go over and ask him and see what they had. And then if it's not till 10 minutes later or whatever, still go back and talk to him. You said you were going to get him an answer. Get him an answer. Amazing the credibility and relationship building that will do with a coach if you will come back and follow up with him with what you said you were going to do. Another great tool to use, guys, when you're dealing with coaches, don't talk about what happened or what did happen. Talk about what you saw. Because see, if he comes in and says he was holding and you say, "No, he wasn't. Yes, he was. No, he wasn't. Yes, he was. No, he wasn't." And now we're headed down the path of an argument where we don't really want to go. So again, don't focus on what happened. Focus on what you saw. He says that was holding. "Coach, I was looking at him. What I saw was this." Or, "Coach, I didn't see that. I didn't see that, but I'll keep watching 21 next time," or whatever. But see, now you're talking about, you're not coming down to who's right and who's wrong. You're coming down to the other aspect of the game, which is I can only call what I see. And if I see it, I'll call it. My one final thought that I would add on this slide is this. Anytime that I have ever thrown an unsportsmanlike flag because I was angry, I have almost always regretted it. We don't throw an unsportsmanlike flag to teach a coach a lesson, to get revenge, to put him in his place, or any of those things. The reason we throw an unsportsmanlike flag is because that coach or whoever has acted in an unsportsmanlike manner, and by rule, that is an unsportsmanlike foul. There is no other reason than that. Don't allow any of those other things to come into it. Now, I know that's really easy to say sitting here in the calmness of this video. Things become different out on the field, but that's what we should be striving for. We never throw unsportsmanlike flags out of anger, but simply because this is what the rule says. It helps us keep control of the game. Finally, if we've had a blow up with a coach where we've had to throw an unsportsmanlike conduct flag or whatever, after that has happened, that's when we need to go the extra mile to again be helpful and communicate and work with that coach. Look for a reason to give him some information or something, and come in and approach him very friendly, professionally, like nothing ever has happened, so that they know it's all behind us now. It's nothing personal. I'm going to continue to officiate fairly and unbiasedly, and I'm not out to get you. All right, I'll just close this video with this final thought. Guys, in order to be football officials, you need to enjoy working with coaches. You need to be excited at the challenge, particularly on the sideline, of managing and handling coaches in a professional way, not because you want to put them in their place or show them who's boss, but because you really enjoy working with them and feel there's not a coach out there who you can't handle and develop a positive working relationship for the game. With that, that is the end of this video. This, as you watch it, will count towards one of the videos you're required to watch for playoff eligibility. Good luck, and we'll see you out there this season.